Hello and welcome to Chemistry Class with Franklin. This is Fidos Academy and I am glad to introduce to you the Chemistry Class with Franklin. If you're new to our channel, please do subscribe and stay glued to this channel and this page. I'm introducing to you Everyday Chemistry with Franklin. So every day we will have something to learn in chemistry. This page is for secondary school students or university students that want to learn or refresh their memory on chemistry concepts. So if you're new to our page, you are welcome. So in today's episode of our class, we are going to be looking at the particles that we have in chemistry. Basically, matter is made up of three key particles. Three key particles. And those key particles that matter is made up of is an atom, a molecule, and an ion. So matter basically is made up of atoms, molecules, and ions or ions. We want to look at what is an atom. Then we say an atom is the smallest particle of an element which can take part in a chemical reaction. The smallest particle of an element which can take part in a chemical reaction. So as long as the particle can still take part in a chemical reaction, then we say that it is an atom. So no matter how small, an atom is actually very tiny, very, very tiny, that we can't even see it with our naked eyes. But as long as it can take part in a chemical reaction, then it is still an atom. So the second particle is the molecule. What is molecule? Well, we say that a molecule is the smallest particle of a substance that can normally exist alone and still retain the chemical properties of that substance, be it an element or a compound. So, for a molecule, there is one key thing that you need to know. And that key thing is that molecules can exist alone. Molecules can do what? They can exist alone. So if it cannot exist alone, it can be an atom, but it cannot be a molecule. So it can exist alone, it can take part in the chemical reaction, and it must maintain all the properties of that particular substance. We can have a molecule that is an atom. We can have a molecule that is just the molecule of an element. But we can still also have a molecule that is just a molecule of a compound. And a compound is just like different elements joined together. But whether it is an element or a compound, as long as it can exist alone and still retain the properties, the chemical properties of that substance, then we say it is a molecule. Then the third thing is an ion. An ion. What is an ion? An ion is any atom or group of atoms which possess an electric charge. Any atom or group of atoms which possess an electric charge. So, as long as the particle possesses an electric charge, as long as it contains an electric charge or it has a charge on it, then you can feel free to refer to it as an ion, whether it is one single atom that is charged or it's a group of atoms that is charged, then it is still an ion as long as it has an electric charge. So, but I want you to know what is the difference between atoms and molecules and ions. Now, look at the big difference. Ion can be an atom, but it must have an electric charge. But if it doesn't have an electric charge and it's just an atom, an ion can be a group of atoms and it can have electric charge. But if it doesn't have, it is never an ion. So an ion must have an electric charge. But look at the atom and the molecule. What's different? Atoms must belong to an element. Atoms must belong to an element. But a molecule can either be of an element or it can be of a compound. Then another thing is that an atom may not be able to exist alone, even though it maintains the chemical property of the substance, of the element. But a molecule can be able to exist alone. So once it can exist alone, even if it's an atom, then it is a molecule. Because we have some elements that if and their atom is still their molecule, that means it can exist. So once it can exist alone, we cease to call it an atom, but we call it a molecule. So that is it for this episode of our class. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. I'll see you in our next episode of our lesson. Stay tuned.